I was with you on that journey until you said that last sentence, and now you're breaking my brain a little bit.
It's one band, but 14 musicians. So that's really exciting, for the next Band Beats. 7
cool.
September, check out for
And they think they are God's gift to entertainment just because they can play a 45-minute set.
Kind of like a ghost in certain aspects. Because people, it's not like this loud and proud thing that you're on billboards and kind of...
And I think there's a lot of lessons that young musicians especially can learn from that, because it's not just passion.
Please comment about this topic, because I think this is something that we need to have these discussions, guys.
You're listening to the Baascast. Yeah, it is better than it sounds.
How's it, guys? Welcome back to the Baascast. My name is Baas de Beer. This is my cast, and my guest today is none other than my very first actual sponsor of the Baascast, way back when I had no one investing in this thing, except for one friend. One. His name is Henry van Schalkwyk. He's the owner of Audiotorch, the coolest and most amazing audio-visual company in Pretoria. And I'll tell you a bit more about it sometime, but you've seen so far at the end of every Baascast, it ends with, thank you so much, Audiotorch, for sponsoring the cameras. Well, this is Henry from Audiotorch that's been sponsoring the cameras. Henry, hello.
Lekker, man, bro. So, yeah.
Lekker.
All good, man.
Are we doing this English or Afrikaans?
Oh, we can do English, man. Yeah.
It's always more fun.
Your international audience, I know, is growing, so
Yeah.
let's keep that fire going,
Plus, I mean, the fact that I found that if you're friends and you do a podcast in your native tongue, you very easily slip into the, oh no, now I have to do the interview voice. So I'd rather do it in English, than it feels like we have to still be on a podcast.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Listen, but thanks so much. I mean, this is technically your second podcast that we're doing together. The first one never saw the light of day because...
Are we going to be honest about the whole...
I forgot to press record on the one camera. I wanted to be all, what's the word, special about it, rigged 3 cameras for the thing because, it's Audiotorch, I have to be braggy, and then I forgot to record on the one. My bad. Welcome back.
It happens, man, we're human. Thank you.
Listen, dude, so basically, I mean, obviously you're not just on this podcast because you're my mate, but I will say that... this podcast would probably not have been what it is or even seen the light had it not been for you, not necessarily for the sponsorship, but just as a friend, as a person that's been investing in me and my personal growth. So we're definitely going to be touching a little bit on each other. Yeah. No, wait, not that. That's only on Tuesdays. No, but I mean, I definitely want to stand still on some deeper things that I think the world needs to know, because you've got so much to give other than sound and lighting and stuff. But that is first and foremost why I've got you. Let's talk sound and lighting and music industry and stuff.
Yes.
But I feel I need to say one thing first. Thank you so much that we can be recording at Apeiron Art Studio. I got the name right. It changed recently. I'll tell you more about them later.
Beautiful space.
Nice, eh?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So just in a nutshell, who are you, what does Audiotorch do, and how does Henry van Schalkwyk fit into the picture, into the music scene in South Africa?
Okay, well, that's a great question. I think maybe I should start at the beginning and kind of tell you about the journey of the whole thing.
Give us the cliff notes and figure out.
So I think at the moment where we're sitting as Audiotorch, as a brand, as a company, and what we really want to focus on is, I think one of the points that's really interesting is we went into the corporate industry about from 2017, 2018. Because the music and the band industry had changed, it shifted during those years. And the great thing about that is that as Audiotorch, we can kind of tap into the corporate industry, make some money there, and then translate that into equipment that we can bring into the band industry at all levels. And I think that is one of the really special things I would say that Audiotorch has done in the last few years that made them different, that make us different. So I think that's an interesting point. We are giving bands equipment that they want to jam on and that they deserve. The industry, I think we're going to probably touch on that a little bit later. The industry has got so many tiers, so many levels, so many different aspects. But we do feel that there's a lot of amazing talent that kind of slips through the cracks a little bit. They don't get the opportunity to play proper equipment, proper gear.
And you basically want to make that accessible to bands.
That's it.
I think we'll definitely have to touch on band beats later as well, speaking of that. But I mean, you as an individual, you've been in the music industry now for give or take 15 years, I would say.
Yes, yeah.
We met in 2010.
Yeah.
And then you were already, you know, the soundy traveling with a trailer and a couple of subs and making bar gigs sound cool.
I had a Honda Ballada
Yes.
that you know that I had all my gear in with a trailer that we had custom made. And even at that stage, I think I was still borrowing gear from friends and jam rooms and things like that. You know,
And I mean,
so it was interesting. Yeah.
Just seeing how you built up a company out of a passion, I think that's a journey that a lot of musicians follow, but they get stuck at the passion part. So I almost want to say there's an example not only for fellow music engineers and stuff, but actually the musos watching this episode or listening to this podcast, because you've taken what your passion is for the industry and turned it into a viable business. And I think there's a lot of lessons that young musos especially can learn from that, because, you know, it's not just passion. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the efforts, the sweat, the blood, the tears, the sacrifice. How's your journey been on that side? Did you ever feel that you could have been a musician and this is why you're, you know, not good enough to make music? Because now there's a lot of musos, engineers that want to be musos. Was music making your first passion?
It was definitely my first passion, and I went to England. So how it all started, I went to England after matric, and over there I met a couple of bands, and I always loved music. And I went to Nile Crocodile in high school, and that kind of slipped in there, and all the different areas. You know, got into Hatfield Square because, you know, they didn't check your ID at the square, only in the bars, so you could see all the shows there, and so there was definitely a love for music. I played guitar and all of that stuff, and with the pounds that I made, I bought my guitar and amps and all the pedals and everything, and got back to South Africa after that. But what I want to say is that in England, I met a couple of bands, and I actually went to their shows earlier to kind of chat to them and like build relationships, and that got me into the sound thing, because I checked, they got the desk, this is how they rig a show. I mean, I was 18 years old, never been backstage or behind the scenes of any show, just always witnessed it. You know, so that was interesting to get to know microphones and this and monitoring and like how a sound desk, kind of the fundamentals of it. Got back to South Africa and then wanted to study music. But of course, as parents do, they want to look out for their child and what they see as, you know, the best way forward. And they said you can still be involved in the music industry, but you need to be able to build a business on something. So we researched what's the best way to do that. Good
advice, just saying.
Because that, and I think that's one of the things that you shouldn't only focus on the passion and have the passion be the only thing that you can hold on to, because that makes it fickle in some instances. In any case, so I went to study sound engineering because I thought, okay, I can mix with bands, I can work with bands, work in the studio, still play guitar, do all those kind of things. Did the studying, worked for a guy there. He was Nile Crocodile's engineer, famous guy, Jock Cunningham.
Yeah.
You know, and I learned from him, worked for him a little bit. But then there was a shift for me, because I started realizing that for me to be able to build the business or make that shift into making money with that part of the industry and sound and being involved with the music, with live music specifically, is I need gear. So I actually ended up selling my guitars. I had 2 guitars, a pedal, 2 amps, everything, so that I can start the business. And so I bought a little desk, a couple of mics, DIs, and a few bits and pieces, and 2 tops. And that was it. I started doing. I also mixed at Cafe Barcelona in-house for a while, and also what was the other place? It was Night and Dragon for Fritz, in Boksburg, Night and Dragon.
Shout out Fritz.
Yes. Yeah, Fritz, love you, bro. So he also gave me an opportunity. And then Piet Botha, God rest his soul, he discovered me at Night and Dragon. And he said, "Ek like jou. Jy gaan vir ons kom shows doen." And then I toured with them a little bit in and around Pretoria and Gauteng. And that got me into that gave me an opportunity where I could make a little bit of money to start buying gear. But at that stage, like I said earlier, I was still borrowing gear from VM Otto in his rehearsal studio, borrowing his tops, his mom's trailer, all of that stuff, just to load the stuff in and just to make it work, you know.
Well, I mean, starting from there, I think there's a lot of young engineers now that are at where you are at, and sure, some of them come to the business with, I don't know, daddy's got a couple of grand extra, or you know what, they run another business, they do some work, they buy the gear. Point is, doesn't matter how you get into it. Everyone's got a little bit of a start.
Yes.
Now, I think that it's good for the scene to have more competition come up because it forces you to move on upward, because there's no way that you are going to now, as a family man, compete in pricing, for instance, with a guy that can rock up at a show with his two tops and his couple of DIs like you did years ago.
Yes.
So the journey from starting there to elevating your business into what it is now, which I would personally describe as probably the top tier in the greater Gauteng and surrounding area in what you do, right? Because you are not the 5,000, 10,000 show guy yet. I don't know, maybe sometime. But you're also no longer the...
Well, I can manage it, but I mean, as my company goes, we don't cater for that.
But I mean, the journey of growth, was that purposefully directed to being where you are at now? Or is this what happens when you just have a passion, you go with where it takes you?
See, that's a great point, because I think in this industry, Pretoria specifically, because that's the only part of the industry that I really know well, is there aren't a lot of guidance. There's not a lot of guys that's done it, that work with young and up-and-coming engineers and business owners and have these discussions. We don't have a business forum, for example, in the music industry, where people can get together and they can have coffee in the morning. And I mean, in all other industries, you have these things, all other industries. So there's still a little bit of work in terms of the music industry, I feel, in South Africa and Pretoria specifically. Joburg is a little bit of a different beast. There's a little bit more structure, I feel, in Joburg, but Pretoria specifically, so I didn't have those idols that I could kind of look up to. I had engineers that I looked up to. Conrad Ramnek, love you, bro. And Jock Cunningham was also great. There's a couple of other names that Stian also, Steak and Ale, Centurion. So there's some beautiful people out there that inspired me to be an engineer. So I've followed those footsteps the way they taught me to engineer, how to work with bands, relationships, these kind of things. But that only takes you halfway. Building your business. I mean, if it was about the best engineer, it would be easy. Then a lot of these names and things that we know about would have the massive companies because they are the best engineers. But it's not always the case. It's more of how can you create your space in the industry, and how can you see the opportunities and work around that. So, for example, I had to start doing some weddings. We had to start doing funerals and things like that, a little bit of rental. Later on with COVID, we streamed. There are a lot of funeral streams and those things. And then that forced me to kind of move into the AV world, screens and recordings, production, camera work, and that kind of thing. I think one of the things that really showed me that I'm probably on the right path was COVID. Because if you look at what happened to COVID, it showcased which companies can stand their ground and which companies are pliable and malleable. So that was interesting to me because COVID developed me. We came out of COVID, double the company we went in.
That is amazing.
Because it forced me to think about these aspects. Where am I going? Where should the money go? Where should my focus be? So for us, in a very funny, weird way, COVID was a kick
I've heard that from so many business owners, small specifically. I mean, I've been speaking to Bryboy, for instance, COVID did, sure, it closed down a couple of his best shows, but it shaped him as a person and as a businessman. Myself, it completely turned my direction. I would say a 69-degree turnaround, wherever, it was way out. And if I took a look at how you shaped your
as long as you're at the top, not the bottom,
your Audiotorch experience, I think that kind of answers my question to say that you took direction, but you were pliable, malleable, as you say. So taking the direction as let your company's growth dictate your company's growth.
Yes.
It's something that I kind of always say, but you are the personification of that, because it doesn't help that you plan so much to the T, but you cannot improvise at all.
Absolutely.
When you say, now I want to stand still on something that you mentioned, just about the industry a little bit. You mentioned that, you had these idols to look up to in the actual industry. But now, since then, I would personally, and my experience in the industry is that you have surpassed many of those influences in certain aspects. Let's say, for instance, the business side of things or whatever it is. Do you find that changing your role models is necessary as you progress?
Yes, absolutely. And what I would say is that is finding the right role models is the most difficult thing, because you can look at somebody's life, you can look at their social media and the way they speak about the business, and then you can go and collaborate with them on a project, and then all of a sudden you see a completely different story. You know, how they work with crew, how they work with bands, how they work with clients. That is really telling after a couple of events how they do it, you know. So I think having one role model in that is quite risky, because that's one way of doing it, and then there might be some things that for my company won't work, and or for my journey won't work at all. So I think finding the right people to look up to, you know, because there's so many aspects. It's personality. It's what is your story of your brand? Where do you want to go? How do you make money?
And where are you lacking in?
Exactly. Yes.
Like,
yes,
I mean, it does. If I want to learn how to cook the best steak I can, it doesn't matter how much I look up to you as a sound engineer. It's irrelevant in whether you can teach me how to make a better steak.
Exactly. Yeah,
And just like that, I think I found that when I need to grow as a business person, it doesn't help that I look to the best craftsperson. You know, like you as a sound engineer, sure, you can build your sound engineering up. That doesn't build the business.
Yes.
Which brings me to the point that Audiotorch as a company, as you mentioned, evolved a lot, as have you as a person. Where do you draw your main strength from at this point? Because, I mean, let's be honest, sure, COVID was good. I'm using air quotes here because, sure, there was definitely a lot of bad as well, but depends who made good. You, a little bit more on the personal side, started a family in the last few years, you know, made a beautiful baby, got the wife.
We started in COVID, basically, the last... The tail of end of COVID, you know, we started the family. So.
And if I have to draw a comparison, not that it's fair to do that because everyone's circumstances are different, but where do you find the strength to face adversity? Because in my opinion, a lot of guys, especially in our industry, you know, they cocked. Basically, during COVID, when things got tough, and it's nothing personal, not to anyone. I mean, fuck it, I was at breaking points a couple of times during that, but, you know, you get through. What gives you, as Henry van Schalkwyk, the strength to face the adversity, not only of business and personal lives combined, but I mean, the entire world seems to be sometimes in a bit of a negative spiral, yet you push through. Where do you find the strength?
It's interesting because it's kind of a bit of an oxymoron if you think about it, because music and art should not be confined. Music and art and industry and passion shouldn't be confined through discipline and routine. But the weird thing about it, what I found, is the more routine and the more discipline I implement on my life, the stronger the structure is. And that gives me actually the space to feed the passion and do projects like Band Beats and other projects with artists, up and coming artists and that, you know. So structure, discipline. Stop partying. Stop drinking on a Saturday night and have a bubbler till the Monday or Tuesday. Don't do that. I mean, I still have artists now that I phone them in the morning at 10:30, and they, no, we went out last night. I got home at 5, that kind of thing. And that's fine when you're 19, 20 years old. But when you hit your 30s, start implementing discipline and structure, because it really frees you up. It's a strange thing. The more structure you have, the more freedom you have.
I was thinking about that this morning, actually, and it's something that you brought up to me. I actually spoke to friend Kyle in our Baascast about it, and it is that principle of getting up and making your bed. And that level of discipline, firstly, I'm an asshole, because I will not make my bed simply because you told me to, and that is the best advice you got to give. Fuck you, 5 a.m. club.
Yeah.
Until you realize that, find the purpose behind it, find the reason why that level of discipline works. I don't think it is so much the act of making your bed. It is the act of having an established routine, the discipline, the self-discipline to do something that is not comfortable, that you don't like, and try and define little spaces in your life where you can fit in what you need to do. Like, for instance, if you still haven't made your bed in the morning, it's easier to get back in. Now, to use what you just said about implementing that structure, the discipline, and having that as your fallback almost in times of negativity, the rescue that you can experience from that, I think, is something that you've taught me a lot about. I mean, if I take Henry van Schalkwyk from 2015, you know, when was the water tower incident at Otter Lake? You know, that type of Henry.
Oh, yeah.
We have to sorry, this is going to be a complete break from the deep, serious thoughts. Just quickly, Otter Lake, I think it was 2015.
Yeah, 2015, yeah. It was 2015. And well, we did it for 3 years, but the one you specifically you're talking about was 2015.
In my mind, that was a turning point here where we realized that Henry needs some attention. Because, you know, if the sound engineer at your festival is up on the water tower drunk as fuck, and, you know, you could...
And the stage starts in like 2 hours, and we're still up in the water tower having fun,
Geez, dude, good times. But, I mean, it was with Bertus from Soil 77 that you climbed the water tower at this music festival, that everyone was like, are we going to have a sound engineer tomorrow, or is he going to break his neck?
It was, the funny thing about the water tower, and that's what people don't know, because nobody's ever been up there, is at that top part, we were hanging on there with one arm, and the other arm was trying to roll a spliff, you know? So we were there, and the tower was literally like moving while we were busy there trying to do the whole thing. And then I also obviously fell on the way down off the grass roof. As I sat down, the grass started slipping, and then that was almost a disaster. And yet again, we survived it. We got through the festival. The bands
next morning, I had to
everybody.
pick you up out of your tent and bring you almost to the sound stage. To the sound desk. Now, the reason why I bring it up is not to say that, you know, holy shit, look at Henry, he was such a party animal. But holy shit, look at Henry, he was such a party animal, still having a good time.
No.
Just to say that, you know, it's not like you are a moralistic little preacher saying don't drink, don't have fun while you're doing this industry. But you did that. And I think there's a balance coming in a younger generation nowadays. And I would love to just tap a little bit of your expertise on the upcoming scene.
Yeah, but can I say a quick cultural shift there? That's really interesting, because if you go back, the culture 15 years ago in the music industry, in venues, it was drinking.
Yeah.
Everybody drank. A band wouldn't go on stage without a bottle of Jägermeister.
The non-drinkers only drank a bottle on the night.
Exactly. You know? So the culture in those days, where everybody drank, everybody got drunk, let's say during and after the show. You know, if you rock up to the event drunk, that's a different story.
No, that was so 70s.
Yeah. But no, we were drinkers, and that's what happened in those days. But the culture now that I see, it's a lot more professional, actually.
And healthy.
Yeah, definitely healthier, because people get to the show, they're completely sober, they might have a drink during the set, but I'm saying a beer or a drink. Yeah. And afterwards, they'll have a couple of drinks and enjoy each other's company. But there's nothing...
And you're talking about the bands now, specifically, like the artists.
Bands and the technicians will...
But not the crowd. I mean, we still have a vibrant, live drinking crowd, but I mean, we're talking business now.
Business, the technicians, the bands, people involved in it. You don't get those instances that we had where the event organizer is drunk in the bathroom, you know, while the bands are performing. This is the culture 16 years ago. That was
Jesus, dude, when I moved to Pretoria, that is how you did it. You first got drunk and then you started hosting the event.
So I think it's really positive the way it is now, and the way the younger generation sees alcohol. You know, I think it's also... People understand it a lot better, you know, and they also know there's so many downsides to alcohol. We don't even have to go into that.
Yeah, that's a whole separate.
Yes. So just a cultural thing, I think, is really positive the way it's changed now. Young bands are professional. Young techs, young engineers, young guys coming into the scene, very professional the way they handle themselves, and I think they're gonna progress a lot faster. If you start 100%. Out this discipline at 22, 23, you've got a massive career.
The competition currently is so much stronger. I mean, let's be honest. If in 2010 you had if you had a moderately decent sounding band and a good vocalist, you know, and you didn't show up too late for a gig, you would probably get gigs. Nowadays, the competition is so stiff that if you don't send your reply on your booking request within 10 minutes, there's 100 other bands. I mean, you book entertainers for markets, and you do... I mean, it sounds such a small, basic thing, but I mean, 5 night markets on a weekend in Pretoria, right? 5 or 6 or something.
Yes.
You need entertainers at all of them. You've got a plethora to choose from. First guy to respond, hey, are you open? They're going to get the gig.
Yes.
Which is why, as you said, young bands, I mean, I will any day punt someone like Indie Dog. I had a Baascast brief chat with them just before Strab, and what was so beautiful was, as a young band, when they were asked, send us your tech rider, send us a promo video and some photos for blah, blah, just what is required for this and your signed contract. Took them half an hour.
Yeah,
to
they
send
were
the
ready on
basics,
it. Yeah,
and the next day
exactly.
we got all the marketing material that we needed. It is now a month after Strab. I still haven't got some of the more professional, older artist stuff.
Yes.
It is something that is a mindset change, I think, in the younger artists. Younger
Absolutely.
artists.
Yeah,
band
absolutely.
beats.
Yes.
I want to stand still on band beats because obviously I think, as you said, look, you do the corporate stuff, it pays the bills, it feeds the kid. It's, you've got a matric farewell dress to save up for. I mean, those things aren't cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
You only
Yes,
have
yes.
about 16 years left to save for one.
Yeah.
But point is,
And a wedding. So.
you make your money, let's be honest, from the corporates. There's not really money for engineers and so forth, I think. And I'm talking money. I'm not talking, fine, you get paid your fee. I'm talking, can you make a viable living just by mixing live bands in Pretoria?
Yes, yeah.
Fucking no.
Yeah.
You will not
Exactly.
start a family and do that. You have to have that business element. This is the very first commercial break in a Baascast. Don't worry, I'm going to try and not make it boring. Thereby, I'm going to say things as if it's not an advert, even though it totally is. So, Henry, do you have any tattoos?
I don't have a tattoo, but if I were to get one, it would definitely be here.
See, now we did a promotion. No, seriously, guys, though, thank you so much for sponsoring this segment of the Baascast. I love you, I respect you, and I appreciate the fact that you're only 2 houses away from where I stay. So guess who's going to get more ink soon? Come to Apeiron, check it out. They're doing a whole entire little art village setup here with dresses and crystals and theatre spaces and laser boutique things, and obviously the tattoo part of things is still central to what they do. Conveniently situated in the heart of Garsfontein, Pretoria East, it is there for you, and honestly, in my opinion, one of the nicest spaces where you get to do tattoos. Come to Apeiron Arts, and again, thank you guys so much for sponsoring this segment of the Baascast. Band beats is something you want to start because you don't want to let the passion die, and also you want to invest in the young artists, in the scene, build something. Can you just elaborate a little bit? What is band beats for you, and how does that differ from just any other gig that you do sound for bands?
Yes. Look, Band Beats is definitely a passion project that I want to give up and coming bands and even established bands that that want the stage. They've got an album launch, they've got a single release, whatever they want to do. I want to give them a stage that they can play on that feels like a festival stage. Yeah. And that's the big thing, because you look at venues. I mean, there's a couple of great venues in Pretoria, but a lot of the time the audio quality and the AV quality is really not there. I mean, we've spoken about this. We're not going to name names, but most of the places is quite shockingly bad.
Yeah, because they last bought gear in 1992.
And I really believe that the bands deserve it. Whether you've played 2 gigs or 200 gigs, you deserve to have great gear and to play on that stage. So we've opened up Klitsgras Drumming Circle, the venue. We've built up the stage there. It's a great space.
Just to be clear, he didn't open it. He opened it up for
open
bands.
it up for, yeah. Now, Klitsgras, obviously...
Sorry, Andries, we didn't build Klitsgras.
Yeah. We just, we enhancements, we plugins, Yeah, specialized plugins for Klitsgras. So I provide the audio, so it's proper audio. It's not 2 tops and subs. It's line array tops. It's high-end subs, so you feel the bass. We've got screens up for visuals and artwork and that kind of thing to put up for the bands. Moving heads, lights, engineers, DJs, the whole thing. So it's a mini festival vibe, that we create there.
Every 3rd month, I
Yes,
think.
yeah, we do quarterly. We skip the winter, it's quite cold there. So there's fire dancers, there's a 100-person drumming circle with international drummers and ditch players and everything. Andries, Godfather Ditch, love it. So it really is a mini festival. There's even a LED lit forest for free camping. So you really
people camp for free. So
Yes.
they rock up to Band Beats.
Yeah.
I'm asking these questions as if I'm not part of it, because I did jump fully in as Baas de Beer, endorsing, being part, hosting and doing things. But I'm going to ask it in case, people don't know yet.
Yeah.
So wait, are you telling me that you can go to Band Beats, have a jaw, and you don't even have to drive back the 8 kilos to society? You can just camp there for free and...
Exactly. In a forest, an LED lit forest with a net that spun out through the trees, so you can lie underneath the the trees there and look at the stars and build a fire. There's a boma there and everything. So it's a one-of-a-kind event, one-of-a-kind feeling and place.
Well,
and Discuss is a stunning
But I mean,
venue.
all's good and well, but what makes this different for the bands then? Like, why do they benefit from this other than having a cool stage?
Well, everything is free. The AV, the sound, the team, the engineers, the stage crew, stage lighting, everything is free. We give them free content to utilize, to sell, and they sell tickets to the public and they keep all the money. We don't touch it. It's all there. So everything they put in, they get.
So it's like a door deal on steroids. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I do miss about doing band things. I would say, you know, years ago when we did shit, I'm sounding like that guy now, but here's a back in my day.
Well, I mean, you're not.
I mean, I'm
we're there.
great.
We're there now. You know?
But I mean, honestly, back in our day when we started things, door deals, that was the modus operandi. That was what happened.
Yes.
First thing was, like, my band played Shivas. Fuck me. First thing that happened was you played your door deal, $20 at the door.
Yeah.
You had to pay the sound engineer first, then the door person, and then the 3 bands on the day got their cuts. I mean, more often than not, we walked away paying in 25 Rand each per band member, you know, just to have that awesome privilege of playing a Tuesday night in front of, you know, a couple of people in a drunken bar.
Yes.
And I think there's been a bit of a loss of culture when it comes to the door deal idea. Why do you think bands... I'll just call it. I think bands are lazy and they don't want to sell their own tickets. They want to rely on organizers selling, and they think they are God's gift to entertainment just because they can play a 45-minute set. That's one side of it. On the other hand, do you find that there are still artists that will grab an opportunity like this and say, listen, yeah, I've got limitless earnings on a gig. I can sell my tickets. We've got the technology. Where's the balance for you at? Because I'm a bit miffed with some bands at this point.
I completely agree with you. And the thing is, me and you, we've done this project. Our band Beats has been going for almost 2 years now. So you also know, and we've had these conversations with bands. So we see what the replies they give when we give them this idea or this opportunity. And it's really interesting because the responses we've had are varied. It's massive. So, I mean, we've had some big names like Wonderboom play there, you know. So for them it makes sense because if you have a big name, you've got a following, you can sell the tickets, and you can do that. Then you also have the smaller names that say, "Listen, I'm not going to do that and sell tickets because I know I'm not going to make money," and that's where the friction lies. So if you expect a venue to pay you, you should bring people. That's part of the thing why we've lost 12 venues in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Because there aren't enough support for the venues to be able to host these bands. And see, this is one of the reasons why I think it's Band Beats forces the bands to think about their marketing, to think about their approaches to how to gain fans and how to gain people and get them excited to come back out to the gigs again. I mean, a little thing called the internet and YouTube and social media and Netflix and these things came into play since we started, you know, 15, 16 years ago. So this has shifted a lot of the focus for weekend, Saturday entertainment to rather be at home. So it is tougher
Yeah, you're
to get
competing
some
with
people.
the whole
Yes.
internet of entertainment.
Exactly, yes,
But
yes.
where do you think the bands... Because, I mean, I'll be honest, I've seen, and I'm not just saying Band Beats, I'm saying a lot of other gigs, the small bands are still passionate to work for where they want to get. And then somehow someone sent them a meme saying that all bands deserve to be treated like rock stars, which they do.
Yes.
But they deserve to get the payment of famous rock stars, which they don't.
Exactly.
Because if you don't bring the feet, if you don't have the fans, you know, I think that... What's the solution then? How do we get bands to be motivated again to want to earn the money by playing the game versus just rocking up?
That's a very difficult question to answer because for me, I haven't really been in that seat. You know, I've never been on that side of the fence where I'm the lead of the band. I lead the band, so I need to do the marketing. I need to get the deals. I write the songs. Whatever. So it's very difficult to answer. I think what I can say about that is, again, there needs to be more infrastructure in the industry. There needs to be more discussions like this in a bigger forum, you know, where you have, I think Bandistry started something and they had...
Bandistry was so good.
Yeah,
I'm so sad they don't happen anymore.
I think they had a beautiful angle to talk to the bands, and in the way they presented it was great because they got experts on the panel that spoke about the different ways you can approach your music and which studios to go, not which studio specifically to go to, but what to look out for when you approach a studio and you're recording. Do they also give you kind of like a production value in content creation and those kind of things? So I think things like that need to happen more for the bands. From my perspective, this is a little bit of a segue, but I think this is something that I thought about lately. And look, I want to disclaimer, I'm not stating this as a fact. This is just my opinion about something that's interesting.
Your current thought process.
Yeah, a different perspective on this whole issue, you know. So people tend to feel, the perspective for a lot of musicians in South Africa is that the industry is lacking. The industry is broken somehow and the industry is difficult. But when you compare it to something like, let's say rugby, like a sport industry, a rugby industry, you've got all different tiers. You have the top guys, you've got the Springboks with all the endorsements and sponsorship deals and that, and they're making a killing. Yes, they are. But how many of them are there really that's making a killing? It's a couple of handsful, right? That's it.
Compared to how many kids learn how to play or start playing rugby in grade 1.
But that's my point. So that's the top tier, right, in sport. Then you've got so Springbok and those kind of tiers. Then you've got provincial. Those guys, they're making money. They've got a good living in a house and they can have a small family and they can do their thing and they survive. Some of them play internationally in other clubs. They've got big endorsement deals. Beautiful, they're making money. But in the provincial level, that's only a small sliver of the players that make real big money. Then you've got club rugby that's underneath that. They don't get any money. You know, a lot of them, it's for passion. So
I wouldn't know. I'm not that much into the rugby, but I trust you on this.
But so just the comparison, the two worlds, right? So then you've got club rugby. All those guys are doctors, lawyers, plumbers, business owners, you know, all these different, they've got day jobs. You know, and then you've got the varsity and the colleges and the social clubs, you know, where they pay in because those social clubs, they need people to give them money, you know, so they can run the club. So you pay to go and play your sport. So my point is the music industry has exactly the same tiers. You've got the top guys that are making a killing. I know, I've seen, and you've also seen some of the quotes, you know, 100 grand, 150 grand for an event. For 45 minutes or an hour and a half, you know, and they've got the endorsement deals and they've got the sponsorship. So they are making a killing up there. Then you get the other guys, that's the tier down there, they do the festivals.
The provincial players.
Yeah, the provincial players, you know. So they play the clubs and they tour maybe every couple of years and they've got some music out there, but they're not on the radio, they don't have the massive hits or the huge space and the huge public eye on them. So they are making some money, and some of them that's all they do, you know, and that's beautiful. Yeah. It's really good that
some of them even go play overseas.
Exactly. But see,
I'm making the connection with you.
But exactly. So they have those opportunities. They are making money on it. And it could be from the cover guy to the full bands. They're making enough money to make a living. You know, some of them have good money, some don't. Then you go to the club level, you know, which they don't make money. And these guys, again, is musicians that have day jobs and they play for the passion.
And occasionally might get a little bit of a kickback, might get a thing.
Exactly.
There's quite a couple of them playing my open mics, for instance.
Precisely. So my point with this is if you look at that comparison, again, perspective, not fact, if you look at that comparison, there's nothing wrong with our music industry. It's healthy. It just depends on your perspective and where you see yourself.
I was with you on that journey until you said that last sentence, and now you're breaking my brain a little bit. Give me a second. So you say, essentially, if we look at it objectively, the industry is healthy because it is as broken as every other part of society.
Well, the thing is that you have to compare it to
I think
something,
it is,
right?
I think it is slightly messed up that rugby players get paid so much, but teachers don't. But that's a different discussion. But no,
but remember, this is entertainment. I'm not talking about education. I'm talking about sport is an entertainment.
Question. Do you think then that there's an imbalance in the music industry with these guys playing, let's use your analogy and say the club level now, or even the social club level, wanting to be paid as if they are provincial players already, and if they are not, then they say the industry is broken, but just because they have not yet been selected for the right team, you know, playing at that level.
This is the thing about a competitive industry. You know, again, if you get to the point where you're good enough to play for the Springboks, if you're good enough to get on radio and get the big label deals and get paid 50 grand or whatever per event that you play, then you've made it, right? So if you are at that club level where you don't get enough money with your events and your gigs and your music that you sell, albums, whatever it might be, then don't be ashamed of it. Don't fight the industry. All you have to do, I think, it's be honest with yourself. Okay, I'm not a Springbok, but I'm playing club, and I've got my day job that brings in the money. I'm stable. I'm playing music for fun. In fact, in some aspects, that might even be better having a day job, because if you rely on your gigs to pay for everything, and you organize a great big gig and you don't make the money, you lose money. Now you relied on that money to pay the rent.
Yeah.
It actually puts more stress and more pressure on you to be able to perform, and that kills the passion, that kills the dream.
Well,
so for some people, having a day job is actually really beneficial. Why? Because it gives you structure and discipline, which
I like the
a
throwback.
lot of people need that. A lot of people need more structure. Play music for the fun. Go play a festival because it's a magical experience. You don't have to gig 4 times a week to feed the passion, you know? For some people,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I mean, I think it's a safer space to say that if you have got the day job, and be your day job what it might be. I know there's a lot of musicians that say they cannot do anything but music. They only want to put out their songs, and that's what they want to do. And then I'm okay. Then do a day job in music. You know, start a cover band. If you're that good at music that you know that you're going to be able to make it, whatever it is, start a cover band, do the music that you sell your soul or whatever you want to phrase it as, but make the money out of that, and then you can still pursue your own music as a passion or do some sound engineering. I know that you don't particularly like the idea of having musos do sound engineering as well, simply because they, have got dreams to rather be on stage. But I think it's something solid, even if it is a temporary thing for you. Just don't go and work for Audiotorch, because Audiotorch would prefer to have engineers, not musicians, right?
Yes, I mean, because you also sometimes you see that in the engineer when they're sitting there and they've got those dreams of being on stage, and you kind of see that passion going. But what I would like to say for the guys viewing, please comment about this topic, because I think this is something that we need to have these discussions, guys.
100%.
This is just one perspective of it. And I think the more we open up about this topic and the more we discuss it and really get to the truth of the matter, because we are simplifying it now.
Very much.
But it's obviously it's a difficult topic
There's a lot to talk
understand
about.
and explain.
There's a lot to unpack. I mean, look, we can literally address things straight up from socioeconomic imbalances when it comes to artists. Like, is the reward worth the risk that you take? I mean, sure, if I always used to use this example of, if you study to be a doctor, you study for 7 years, give or take, I don't know, 10 if you're some of my friends. I won't go to them as doctors. No, point is, you study for 7 years. Until you finish that, you cannot charge a person 50 cents to put a little pleistertje on his ouchie, because you're not yet a doctor.
Exactly.
Yet the musicians want to be paid from gig freaking 3, as if they are professional musicians. But the doctor finishes his 7 years and then he gets to earn a ton of money relatively quickly, versus it takes, I think, a musician, after studying music and working 7 years in pubs and bars, it still takes them longer to earn less money than the doctor. So is there imbalance? I don't know. And I think that's the best. Open it as a discussion to everyone.
You know what I think? It's also be honest with yourself. I think that's the thing, that if you've been making music for 15 years and you're still at a club level where you need the day job to, then rather be honest with yourself and say, listen, okay, this is probably what my journey is going to be like. Now, I know this is going to be controversial, but there has to be a point. I mean, I can give you an example for myself. I could have been a hard ass, like some bands are, and said, no, I'm not going to do weddings. I'm not going to do corporate and sit there and babysit a mic. I want to do the festivals. I want to do live music and bands. And that's what I'm put on this earth to do. I could have done that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had a company today.
No.
Definitely not. I wouldn't have had a company. So I had to kind of do the day jobby things. I had to run my admin. I had to run marketing and social. And I had to start doing weddings and things I really didn't want to do. But that gave me the structure and the discipline and the income to build on my equipment, and now I can give that equipment and those opportunities, I can give that to the bands. And that is the whole point of it. Now, there's so many band engineer guys they've fallen off the wagon because they stuck to that one part of the industry. I mean, live bands on a stage, rock and roll, whatever genre, it's only a third or quarter of the whole industry. So if you only service that quarter, it's already, not the most lucrative industry maybe to perform at, depending on the tier you're sitting in, of course. So there's so many different aspects you need to consider.
So essentially what we're saying is we do need more of these discussions, and I would love to have more opinions, because I think your take is certainly our take to say that there's actually nothing wrong. It is to be expected. This is the norm for industries. Therefore, the industry is not broken. It is averagely fucked.
It's not as broken as people think it is.
Okay, I like that.
There's beautiful, healthy aspects of this music industry, really. In this country, it's there.
Now, listen, I think we're getting to a point where I would love to have some feedback. So if you've got some opinions, drop it in comments. But the beauty, the love, the good things, I want to end off with that, with a little bit of good vibes from Henry van Schalkwyk, right? Now, in your band beats experience, are there any young artists that have stood out in the business sense and the performance sense that more people should be enjoying in South Africa?
That's difficult. There's been so many that's approached us, and we've probably done about 5 or 6. And it's been bands in different areas of the industry. So it's been from the cover guy that's always booked up to bands that's writing only originals, and they've got a very specific genre sliver. They don't have variety in their sound, for example. So that's a very difficult question to answer. But there is a young group of guys that I really enjoy. JC from the Blues Society. They've got this community of musicians that is really passionate, and Elimar, I think, is a big part of that, because he is that idol they can look up to, and he's a great person to have these discussions about how to position your music, how to write songs, or how to think about what you would want to write and how to get that out, So I think if you look at the Blue Society guys, and Black Lebone is also a really exciting group, because it's one band with different lead instruments and different vocalists that sing lead. And the band stays on stage and they just move on, and every song is kind of a different genre, a different approach, a different song. So that's really exciting what they're doing, and they've been invited to some of the other festivals and things now. They're actually going to play the next Band Beats. So that's really exciting to have them there, because it's one band but 14 musicians. So that's really exciting, for the next Band Beats. 7 cool. September, check out for it. So I think so things like that. So for me, it's more projects and communities of musicians than one specific band, I would say.
Now, so what I gather from that is just it's exciting to see that you notice bands that do something a little bit more than just play on stage. It's an enhanced experience, right? But as I promised, we're going to ask something a little bit more personal now. Because you are good at giving life advice. And as I said in the beginning, you are one of the few friends that I've got that I allow to have unfiltered access to my innards, wait, that sounds wrong, to my innermost thoughts, and, have an impact on me. So I'm going to ask you to impart some wisdom on whoever's listening, not as a sound engineer, not as a business owner, but as a dad, as a family man, as a husband. What is the one bit of advice that you think that you can give to someone, especially a young man sitting now listening there, is at the cusp of his journeys, entering life, ready to take life by the horns, might want to start a family, might want to do business, might want to just be a man that figures out his way in life? What is one bit of advice to keep your mindset focused, and you're not allowed to use the word structure or discipline in your answer? What's one bit of sage life advice that you would impart upon young men to keep them sane in this journey they're facing?
Be very careful about who you allow in your space. You only have a certain amount of time, and they always must say that you're the average of the 7 people you surround yourself with. So unbelievably true, because you can have people in your life that you admire, but they might have other aspects of their personal life, like you said, that's really not on par with your values. So I think figuring that out, the earlier you can figure out who you want to surround yourself with, who's got the same values or even higher values that you have, that inspires you to have your values develop through your life. I think that is really honestly one of the most important aspects. And I'm still figuring that out. I'm still, kind of tailoring, that my life and the social life and work environment and all of this to serve you and to serve others around you, your family, your best friends, closest friends, and people you work with. So I think that's really important. Wake up as early as you possibly can, honestly.
I hate you for saying that because...
Wake up as early as possible. Lying in bed till 9:30 in the morning, the birds are up, people are working, everything's happening. Something like that is really, really interesting because I as a sound engineer, we work late hours. So I used to be the guy that goes to bed at 3, 4 in the morning and then sleep till 11 or
And I'm
noon.
not supposed to call you before 11 in the morning.
Yes, exactly, yeah. But as soon as that changed and the structure of my business changed in a way where I can engineer at night and I can leave the equipment, I have a team that can break it down and that, then I had the opportunity to be able to sleep more regular hours. Now, there's a whole thing you can go into chemically what changes or whatever, but just as a general, if you can wake up when the sun is not up yet, but it's light outside, so between 5:30 and 6:30, it really changes everything.
Okay.
There's something special about that time of the day. You wake up, you do everything before. Well, I've got a kid now and a wife, so before they even wake up, I've already exercised, I've gone through my day planning, and there's really something special about doing that.
So I know that you want to say it comes down to structure and discipline, right? Listen, Henry, thank you so much. And again, thanks for sitting with me having this chat. I know it's a bit of a fun challenge to get you from behind a desk and a computer in front of a camera.
No.
And I look forward to actually having more discussions with you. But I think the next time, if anyone listening wants to, I want to delve in a little bit more into the sound engineering experience and how bands should relate to and network with, communicate with sound engineers and sound engineering companies. Would you be keen to have another chat about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's no way we're going to fit that into today's chat.
No.
So
that's a big one.
Yeah, now I get to do something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. Instead of just saying thank you, Audiotorch, and then pointing at logos, I can point at you, saying thank you so much, Audiotorch, for sponsoring the camera gear for the Baascast and essentially empowering us to have a Baascast, opening this discussion. And, the feedback that I've been receiving from people has been so good. So thank you so much for listening to the Baascast and giving the feedback. And if you too want to be part of the sponsoring entities of the Baascast, feel free to get in touch. We can do promotional stuff for you. I really appreciate it. That thing that you heard earlier in the commercial break that was cleverly edited in. That's the type of thing I can do for you and your company. Anyway, Henry, thank you.
Before we go, I want to say something.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you from our side for everything you've done. I mean, you are one of those people that you kind of like a ghost in certain aspects because people, it's not like this loud and proud thing that you're on billboards and kind of thing. I'm obviously.
If I could be, I would.
Yeah. But what you do in artist development, in concept development, with venues, with the open mics that you run, and I mean you've been doing it, as a project for over a decade, and you've been running it. For me, you are the open mic guy, in Pretoria by far. There's people that try, but they've never really hit it on the head. So thank you for that, because I think again, you are the guy that they want to listen to. And you actually have a massive role and a really important role in developing artists for the future, because you don't just tap them on the back and say, oh, nice song. You talk about how they can present themselves, how they can build a brand, how they can actually make it a business. So that's really important because, I think your expertise, again, what I'm trying to do with Band Beats, I'm taking my expertise and giving it back to the industry. You're doing exactly the same with that. And bands 10 years, 15 years ago didn't have that.
No.
So thank you for everything you do for the industry and for the bands and music and us and even myself as a friend. We've had beautiful discussions.
Lots of
and,
tequila.
Yeah, a lot of
Lots
good
of
times,
Jaegers.
yeah.
Lots of wisdom.
So I appreciate you, bro.
Dude, thank you so much. I would get up, but that sounds like effort. There you go, guys. That was me getting my balls proverbially sucked by one of my besties. I think that might not make the cut. Thank you for listening to this Baascast, and thank you so much, Audiotorch, for sponsoring the camera gear.